The $1,000,000 Bitcoin. Will you be rich or ruined? Imagine this. You wake up, bleary-eyed, and instinctively reach for your phone. Amidst the usual barrage of notifications, one headline screams in digital ink. Bitcoin hits 1,000. Your heart pounds in your chest. A cold sweat slickens your palms. Is this real? You frantically open your crypto wallet, and there it is. The once modest digits beside your Bitcoin holdings now display a life-altering sum. How would this moment, this seismic shift in the financial landscape truly impact you? Would it be the dawn of unimaginable freedom, the realization of long-held dreams? Or would it unleash a torrent of unforeseen challenges, testing your very understanding of wealth and security? Forget the Lamborghinis and the champagne wishes for a moment. Let's delve into the raw, unfiltered reality of $1,000,000 Bitcoin and how it could irrevocably change your world. The immediate financial tsunami. For the early believers, the hodlers who weathered the volatile storms and scoffed at the naysayers, $1,000,000 Bitcoin would be nothing short of a financial supernova. Someone holding a mere 0.1 BTC, an amount many dismissed as insignificant, would suddenly possess 100. Those with 1 BTC would join the ranks of the ultra-wealthy, their net worth eclipsing that of many seasoned professionals. Imagine the liberation of paying off mortgages, student loans, and crippling debts in a single decisive click. The weight of financial worry, a burden carried for years, would instantly vanish. However, this sudden influx of wealth wouldn't be a uniform blessing. Those who bought Bitcoin at its peak, only to see its value plummet, might finally break even or even turn a profit. But the psychological scars of the volatile ride would likely remain. And for those who stood on the sidelines, paralyzed by doubt or fear of missing out, FOMO, the $1,000,000 milestone could trigger a wave of regret so profound it feels physically painful. The if-onlys would echo in their minds, a constant reminder of a life-changing opportunity missed. The immediate aftermath would also witness the birth of a new class of millionaires and even billionaires, the Bitcoin rich. These individuals would face a critical juncture: what to do with their newfound fortune. Sell and cash out, securing generational wealth but potentially missing further gains? Or hodl on, convinced that Bitcoin's ascent is far from over, risking a potential downturn? The pressure to make the right decision would be immense, amplified by the constant scrutiny of a world suddenly obsessed with their every move. Reshaping the global economy. $1,000,000 Bitcoin wouldn't just impact individual fortunes, it would send shockwaves through the entire global economy. The market capitalization of Bitcoin would soar to unprecedented levels, potentially rivaling or even surpassing that of gold and major fiat currencies. This could lead to a fundamental reassessment of what constitutes store of value. Would Bitcoin, a decentralized digital asset, finally dethrone gold as the ultimate safe haven in times of economic uncertainty? The implications for traditional fiat currencies like the US dollar and the euro are complex. On one hand, a soaring Bitcoin could be seen as a vote of no confidence in centralized monetary systems, potentially leading to a weakening of fiat currencies. On the other hand, governments and central banks might be forced to acknowledge Bitcoin's growing significance and explore ways to integrate or regulate it within the existing financial framework. Inflation, a persistent concern in many economies, could be further exacerbated or potentially mitigated by $1,000,000 Bitcoin, depending on how it's adopted and used. If Bitcoin becomes a widely accepted medium of exchange, its limited supply could exert deflationary pressures over the long term. However, the initial surge in wealth for Bitcoin holders could also fuel demand and contribute to inflationary pressures in certain sectors. The balance of economic power between nations could also shift. Countries with significant Bitcoin holdings, either through early adoption or strategic accumulation, might see their global standing enhanced. Conversely, nations that dismiss or outright ban Bitcoin could find themselves increasingly marginalized in a world where digital assets play a central role. The potential for a parallel or alternative financial system, operating outside the control of traditional institutions, would become a very real possibility. The social and cultural earthquake. Beyond the purely financial, $1,000,000 Bitcoin would trigger a profound social and cultural earthquake. Our very definition of rich and successful would undergo a radical transformation. The traditional markers of wealth, real estate, luxury cars, inherited fortunes, would have to contend with a new breed of digital wealth, often held by individuals who might not fit the conventional mold of the elite. The markets for high-end goods and services would likely experience a boom, fueled by the newfound wealth of Bitcoin holders. Luxury real estate, exotic cars, and exclusive experiences could see unprecedented demand. However, this surge in conspicuous consumption could also exacerbate social tensions and fuel resentment from those left behind. We might also witness significant shifts in lifestyle and consumption patterns. The Bitcoin rich might prioritize experiences, travel, and philanthropic endeavors over traditional status symbols. The rise of a digitally native wealthy class could also accelerate trends towards remote work, online communities, and a greater emphasis on technological innovation. However, this new era of digital wealth wouldn't be without its challenges. The existing social inequalities could be amplified, creating a wider chasm between the Bitcoin haves and Bitcoin have-nots. This could lead to social unrest and political instability if not addressed thoughtfully. On the other hand, the rise of Bitcoin philanthropy could also see a significant influx of capital into addressing global challenges. Navigating the New World Order, the legal and regulatory landscape surrounding Bitcoin would face immense pressure at $1 million valuation. Governments worldwide would be forced to grapple with fundamental questions about taxation, regulation, and the legal status of such a significant asset. The potential for inconsistent or conflicting regulations across different jurisdictions could create significant challenges for Bitcoin holders and businesses operating in the space. Traditional financial institutions, initially skeptical of Bitcoin, would likely be compelled to adapt. We could see greater integration of Bitcoin into mainstream financial services, with banks offering custody solutions, investment products, and even lending services backed by Bitcoin. The line between traditional finance and decentralized finance, DeFi, could become increasingly blurred. Security and storage of vast amounts of digital wealth would become paramount. The risks of hacking, theft, and loss of private keys would be magnified exponentially. The demand for secure custody solutions, multi-signature wallets, and advanced security protocols would skyrocket. We might also see the emergence of new types of financial crime targeting Bitcoin holders. The $1 million Bitcoin era would also likely spur further innovation in the cryptocurrency space. We could see the development of more user-friendly wallets, more scalable blockchain solutions, and new applications for Bitcoin beyond just a store of value. The technology underpinning Bitcoin would continue to evolve to meet the demands of a global, high-value asset. The psychological roller coaster. The journey to $1 million Bitcoin and the reality of holding such wealth would be a profound psychological roller coaster. The initial euphoria and excitement could quickly be replaced by anxiety and the fear of losing it all. The pressure to make sound financial decisions, amplified by the constant noise and opinions of the market, could be overwhelming. Bitcoin holders might face intense scrutiny from family, friends, and even strangers, all with their own ideas about what they should do with their wealth. Navigating these social dynamics and maintaining personal boundaries would be crucial. The temptation to make impulsive decisions driven by greed or fear would be ever present. Stories of early Bitcoin adopters who lost their private keys or fell victim to scams serve as stark reminders of the potential pitfalls. As the value of Bitcoin soars, the stakes become even higher, and the consequences of mistakes become more severe. Maintaining a calm and rational mindset and seeking professional financial advice would be essential for navigating this new reality. Imagine the tragedy of someone who mined thousands of Bitcoin in the early days, only to carelessly lose their private keys, now watching helplessly as their potential fortune vanishes into the digital ether. Or the irony of someone who sold their Bitcoin prematurely for a small profit, only to witness its meteoric rise to $1 million, forever haunted by their lack of conviction. These are the human stories that will underscore the psychological weight of $1 million Bitcoin. Beyond the million, the long-term implications. Is 1 million the ultimate peak for Bitcoin? Many fervent believers argue that it's just the beginning. They envision a future where Bitcoin becomes a global reserve currency, a fundamental building block of the new financial system, potentially reaching valuations far beyond $1 million. The long-term potential of Bitcoin is intrinsically linked to the continued development and adoption of blockchain technology. As the underlying technology matures and new use cases emerge, the demand for Bitcoin could continue to grow. Factors such as institutional adoption, regulatory clarity, and macroeconomic conditions will all play a significant role in shaping Bitcoin's future trajectory. The generation that experiences the rise of the million-dollar Bitcoin will leave a unique legacy. They will be the pioneers of a new financial era, the ones who dared to believe in a decentralized digital currency when the world was skeptical. Their decisions and actions will shape the future of money and finance for generations to come. Ultimately, the question of what happens when Bitcoin hits 1 million is not just about numbers on a screen. It's about the fundamental transformation of our financial reality, our social structures, and our individual lives. It's a journey into the unknown, filled with both immense opportunity and potential peril. Will you be ready for it? Will you thrive, or will you be overwhelmed by the seismic shifts it unleashes? The answer, perhaps, lies not just in the price of Bitcoin, but in your own preparedness and understanding of the world it is rapidly reshaping.